Is there anything? How are you guys feeling?
Well, this show at the Winspear, it kind of goes to show that we've been doing music for so long.
Mark is saying as well. We've almost, since this past year or so, since the years we've been working together, all the years we've been working together, everybody has a different personality, but at some point in time, there's a switch that happens.
We're just diving into the education segment now. Kind of the show is that we want to really make sure that we're giving as much tangible, actionable tips and advice for people that are maybe trying to follow in the same footsteps of the music industry, just in life, learning from the brothers, from their experience, right? They're experts from their experience, so they have been able to do a lot of really cool things with. Yes, we are back with another episode of the Grind Theory Talk Show, where it is our mission to inspire, motivate, and to educate by diving into the struggles, the obstacles, and the failures of our guests, how they overcome them, and what they learn from them in the hopes to inspire, motivate, and educate. We are with the rebrand. We just did the rebrand from the Grind Theory Podcast to the Grind Theory Talk Show. And the emphasis is on education, making sure that we can educate our listeners and give them tangible pieces of information that they can use in their life to get 1% better. Now, today we got some special guests, but before we even get into our guest that we have here that I'm excited about, we gotta give the man upstairs thanks. So before we do anything, we wanna make sure that we give God thanks for keeping us alive to see this day, thanking us for allowing us to get here safely. Thank you for the rain, with the fires that are going on in Alberta and Canada right now. Thank you for the rain. I just want to be thankful for our guests being here and being in good health, and also for me and my co-host as well. And so, first things first, always got to give the man upstairs praise and thanks. So, with that being said, I am here with some special guests, some local superstars, that are also happen to be from my island, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So you know that I gotta big up Vinci, I gotta big up St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because I have the Melisizwe brothers here with me right now. They are a super talented group of brothers. We have Mark, we have Zachary, and we have Seth. Now, very musically talented. They were the latest winners of America's Most Musical Family. They have also appeared on Nickelodeon. They have appeared on Today's Show with Jenna and
Hoda and Jenna, yeah, Hoda and Jenna.
Sorry. They have also been at the Apollo. They performed. They didn't get booed. They have also been on the Steve Harvey Show. I could keep going. The list goes on. So when I say local superstar, not even local, international superstars. This is a big pleasure. We got to big up Vinci one more time. Special big up to Union Island. All my people in Union Island. Big up Leslie. I told you I was going to big you up. Told you save some mango for me. We're going to big up everybody. This is a big episode. Not only because we get to all be in the same room, but just because of the historical significance of what these brothers are being able to do, not only for here in Canada, but for all of the Caribbean. So very excited to have you guys on. We had them on previously last year, so it's another interview, another time that we get to be in the same room together. So my brothers, thank you and welcome to the Grind Theory Talk Show.
Oh, it's no problem. It's great to be back here.
Yes, I'm happy. I'm really happy to have you guys on. It's been a while. Well, before we even get into that, there's something that's happening on June 23rd. Can you guys tell me what's happening June 23rd? I want people to know right away.
The Winspear Center, milestone concert, Winspear Center, June 23rd. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to be happening here in Edmonton. Mm-hmm. And, I'm really excited. It's in a week, and I'm really excited. It's going to be a great concert.
See, Zachary's being humble right now. But I will not be humble for him. See, these three brothers coming from the islands are about to headline, not as a supporting performance, but to headline at the Winspear Center. Now, the Winspear Center is, I believe, the second largest musical auditorium in
Edmonton.
In Edmonton, right?
Yes.
In Edmonton. One of the bigger auditoriums in North America. It's a big thing. It's not a small thing, it's a lot of historical significance, because I'm very positive that the brothers are the youngest headliners at the Winspear. And not only that, but to come from the Caribbean. I know there's no one from St. Vincent and the Grenadines in particular that has come and performed and headlined at the Winspear. So that's something that I want to make sure I get on right away. Make sure you get your tickets. You can go to melisizwebrothers.com. Am I correct in that?
Winspear Center.
Winspearcenter.com.
Yeah.
You can get your tickets. Will they be able to get tickets on your website as well?
Yeah, we have the link there on our website too.
Okay, the link is also on the website. We'll make sure that we drop that in the comments below, so that you guys can get that. But without further ado, we're gonna dive right into our interview today. So I kind of want to, still touch base on the importance of what you guys are doing, because that is something that is huge, right? It's very huge, especially I think there's a lot of significance as Black young men and as being from the islands, being the center stage at such a big venue. Kind of, what's the feeling coming from your guys' perspective? What's the feeling? What does it feel like? Because I'm excited. I'm just just rubbing off on some of the aura. So what is it like for you guys that are actually going to be a part of it?
Well, the thing is, like, nobody has seen this before. Like, three brothers headlining their own show at the Winspear Center, and I think this event is like a first for everybody. And so, like, personally, like, I feel really excited that this is happening, but it's also the start of something big that's happening here in Edmonton and in Canada. And what we're doing is really just kind of setting the pace for everything that is to come. And our bar is really high. We're going to the Winspear, and we're going to be, giving it all that we got. And the performance, everything, we really put a lot of time into this, so it's going to be a great show.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for that show. Is there anything? How are you guys feeling?
Well, this show at the Winspear, it kind of goes to show that we've been doing music for so long, since we were very little, right? And we just want to thank our friends, family, our supporters, everyone we know that has been supporting our group since the very beginning. And we also, the concert is in support of, the music as well, showing other talents in Edmonton, local artists. So, because that's what we are. We believe in collaboration. Collaboration is one of the keys to success. So, yeah, that's kind of why we're putting off this concert in the first place.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Zachary, you have
Well, first of all, I want to say, like, this concert has been, this concert is gonna be great. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes. We've been doing a lot of rehearsals with our band members, and since COVID, the Jubilee happened in 2019, and it's been a long time since people have been able to come out and enjoy our concert. And doing this, I think it's probably gonna be one of our last concerts in an auditorium before we start expanding into a new horizon. This is the milestone.
It's the milestone. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. See, I love how important and how you guys are all feeling about this moment, right? Yeah. And you touched on something that I actually wanted to extend on, is that you said, because the last time that we interviewed you was in around March 2022, right? And at that time, you guys were a year younger, and at that time, COVID we just kind of were getting out of COVID. We're still dealing with COVID, and I remember at that time, you guys weren't able to do any shows because people weren't really being able to mingle with each other and stuff. in that kind of context.
Yeah.
But to go from that, not being able to do shows, not being able to do anything, to now performing at the Winspear, like, what has that journey been like? What's that feeling, and what's that journey been like, going from not really being able to doing most of your stuff live at home and stuff like that, to now being able to go back to a big event, big auditorium, not just a small thing, like a big auditorium where you can bring your friends, your family, you can collaborate with other artists. What is that feeling like? What's that journey been like?
It's been, it's been almost like a restart for us. We've been able, in COVID, we've been able to figure a lot of things out, in terms of, what we want to do if we want to keep moving forward as a group. And I would say, ever since we made the decision that, we were going to be serious, we were going to put our 100% into what we were doing, we just felt that we needed to do the Winspear to just, restart. Although it's hard, that's the decision that we made, and we decided that we have to follow through with it. And I guess coming out of COVID and getting to see our friends, getting to see our family, getting to perform again, we just did a school tour in February, and it was in the Edmonton area, and we got to perform in front of 10,000 high school students in total. And then we were in Belize in March and April. And we got to perform for 10,000 students there too. And I think just being able to do that, it was almost refreshing. Almost like, this is different from what we used to do. Yeah, that's just how it was for us.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, well, since COVID, right, we feel that a lot of things have changed as well at the same time, because we're, coming out of COVID, we are now seeing a lot of things that we didn't see before. We're always improving mentally, and along with our parents too, they're there to help us see that. And I feel that now we're getting a lot older. My dad the other day, he was saying now it's time for us to start driving. Literally, and everything. So but yeah, I feel that a lot of things are changing in a good sense, because it's putting us in the position that we have to work now. We're putting in the work. We have to use the knowledge that our parents have taught us all the years, and put it to work now. And I think that the Winspear is just the start off of everything, because after the Winspear, it's just gathering your troops. I would say is that's the best I can put it, to gathering your troops for the next thing that's coming up. So but that's kind of how I felt since after COVID, coming right out of COVID, right? So
I can definitely see that there's definitely changes. You're gonna have to be driving to your own shows now. I can hear Seth's voice getting deeper, like I can hear changes, and I can see the changes and stuff. So Zachary, you touched on during this time where after COVID now, and then just kind of leading up to this big milestone that you're going to reach, that there was a lot of tours. You guys went to Belize, you did a tours in the schools with the gold mine, right?
Yes.
With the tours in the schools with the gold mine, and I kind of wanted to get your guys' perspective on what that was like. What was that like being in the schools? Because for a lot of those students, you guys are probably role models, but you're also probably not that much older than them, So they're like, whoa, it's. I think if I was a student in that auditorium, seeing you guys would give me like a whole new vision as what I can accomplish, what I can do for myself. It's like, okay, these three brothers, they've been able to stick together. They are still young, they're not that much older than me, and look at what they're doing. They're performing at the I don't know, I guess for me as a fan, as a supporter, looking in and seeing what you're accomplishing is very cool, because at such a young age and you're performing, you're headlining at the Winspear. The work and the time that has to go into just performing at that, you can't just go and perform there just cause, So kind of tell us about what are some of the memorable experiences from your tours in Belize, with those students and even the students here in Edmonton. Kind of, what was that like? What was that experience like?
Well, it was very enlightening, you know, because the thing is, we've been like through COVID. It was just kind of us three brothers, just like in the house, and even though like the live performances had shut down, we were still just playing music together and working on ourselves, and to really just come back out and then do the school tours in Edmonton, it was like getting to really see new people, and the thing is, like these other teams, they're not much different from ourselves, right? They're doing their own thing. They have a gift, they have a talent. If it was art or a sport, they're still doing their best to just work on themselves as well and get through this life-changing situation, and so it was really just us just sharing our story with them and just kind of having a good time. And what we really wanted to do, it's the same thing in Belize. We just wanted to inspire those kids to really open up their minds to these opportunities that exist for us, and that there's not only one way to achieve success. It's through working on yourself and continuing to learn and grow. And in Belize, we shared a similar message with the students. It's that find out what your gift is and continue to work on yourselves. Continue to work behind the scenes, even when no one's watching, right? And the thing is, don't stop, because time is limited. Time is the key. Keep working on it. Even if you're going through the rough times, keep working on your mind and your strengths and your goals, and just keep blazing through.
Yeah, and one of the things that we here in Edmonton in the Goldmine School Tours, one of the things that we are really pushing is the education, because sometimes your talent can't get you everything, right? Most of the opportunities that you'll have when you're older will come from your experience that you worked with in your younger years. For example, Mark, he's doing college courses right now in Berklee College of Music, so that later in life he can say that I did this course such and such, so it'd be a lot easier for him to get opportunities in music marketing, or for our own group too. So, and a lot of those students were our age, as you were saying. So it was different because we went in, blindfolded. We didn't know the reactions of the students, but they loved it too. So, that's just, it was pretty awesome. 10,000 students in total for the whole school tour. And yeah, like Mark said, it was very enlightening because, to see that these students that are our age, they really understand and they're taking it in because they get to see that people their age are doing something great, so they can do it too. So, it was pretty good.
I love it. I think that's seeing somebody that is of my age, my maybe skin color, similar, way they grew up and stuff like that. I think it would have way more impact and effect on me than someone that's, an older person coming and speaking to me. Yeah. Not saying that I wouldn't get something from the older person, but like, I can see like, you are just like me. So I'm like, this opens up so much possibilities, so many avenues, realizing that there's so many opportunities, right? Realizing that, like you said, yes, your gift, you can see these three brothers who have been able to use their gift and been able to explore all these different possibilities, get to travel around the world, get to showcase their talents. Like, it's very, very cool for you guys to be in this situation. And I hope that you guys remember this even as you guys continue growing up and growing older. You remember these experiences because they're going to meet, these are experiences that are memories for a lifetime, Yeah. So these are like really, really crucial. So it's very, very cool that you guys have been able to do that. And being able to not only do that here, but being able to travel around the world and also show those kids what is possible, right? Yeah. And so I know that you guys have now I can already see, like, I'm just thinking about from the last interview that we had, and I'm thinking, I remember maybe we weren't as comfortable maybe with each other at that time and stuff like that. I think we were still building our relationship, but I think our relationship has grown a lot more now, and you guys have grown a lot more now too. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, what is the what is the growth that you guys have each made individually since our last interview? And it can be some funny stuff too, like like I said, Seth's voice is getting deeper now, so maybe he's gonna have to start singing bass. Like, I don't know, I don't know. But like, what has been some of the growth that you guys have experienced personally and musically?
I think the growth for me was being able to confidence, because especially COVID. Before? Yeah, I think I was always confident, but I think because of COVID we weren't able to do a lot of things, so it kind of hindered. It was in a way it hindered the confidence that we had, and being able to articulate ourselves properly. I think that's one of the things that I was able to build, is being able to articulate, being able to share our message as a group, and I think working together as a team. I think that itself, being around each other and growing, I think that was one of the things personally that I was able to work on myself, and also we're able to produce music better, different stuff like that. So I've learned a lot in the past year, and it's kind of like crazy how much not being around people can affect you in a way, and then starting to be around people and interacting can help you become a better person, because you're taking in everything, you're experiencing things and everything. So I think that's one thing that I improved on myself for.
Before I get Seth and Mark to jump in, I just wanted to touch on that. It's like you said that you were able to, the togetherness between you three, right? In being, I remember, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ori, me and you lived together during COVID, right? And that was, I remember, me and Ori, my co-host, we also lived during COVID together. And cool. It was beneficial, because I remember being by yourself during that time, just alone. You can't, maybe go to the gym. You can't go to all these places to see all these other people. I know that was difficult, but me having Ori, I remember that was some of the times when we actually made the most progress physically. We were pushing each other, working out, and because I had somebody to bounce ideas off of, we still made a lot of progress. And I didn't actually feel as much effects of not being able to see other people, right? And for you guys, I know as working as a group, right, you're working towards a common goal. And I think that it's probably very beneficial for you guys. Yes, you probably get tired of each other, seeing each other every single day. I'm tired of seeing Mark, I'm tired of seeing Seth, I'm tired of seeing Zachary, right? Probably get tired of each other. But I think it was also very good for you guys, because you, working as a group, getting to know each other better. Yes, your brothers, getting to know each other better, spending more time around each other. It's probably beneficial in your music as well too. Better chemistry, knowing, you might have learned some things from Zachary might have learned some things from you might have learned some things from Seth. So I think that was really beneficial. So I like that part that you touched on. And now I'm gonna let you guys go ahead.
Sure. Yes, I think, I just wanted to expand on what you said, but being around each other for, the past year, I think for me, I can say for me, was another eye-opener, because we realized that, yes, we do fight sometimes, and sometimes we feel like we don't want to, be around each other, but that kind of strengthens the bond, because we know that the brand, the Melisizwe brothers, is the three of us. You can't go two alone, we can't go one alone, because that's our brand is the three brothers. So we kind of realized that, if we're gonna continue, it's three or none, right? And our dad always told us, wherever you guys go, it's three or none. Right? It doesn't, he said that, me and your mom are not going to be around to forever, right? So it's three or none. So that's the group. But other than that, personally, I feel like I've grown musically. I've seen a lot of other artists. I've began to kind of put more work in my, musical sense. And I felt that I've been growing, not to say, that, it's still humbling, because I can see that there's other people that are great, and I look up to those people too, right? So, I've learned a lot. I can say that, I can go on talking forever about how much stuff I've learned, but, I'm still learning, and I'm still open to learning. So
that's a great mentality to have too. That's a great mentality to have, because like I think I was just mentioning it. Whenever you stop winning, it's like you're dead because you're not improving, you're not getting better, you're just staying stagnant. And that's like the worst place you can be, is staying stagnant. You gotta always be progressing because time is not gonna stop for you. Time doesn't even stop. Time doesn't even stay stagnant. So if time doesn't stay stagnant, you can't stay stagnant either. So I think that's a very, very important point as well.
Yeah, and can I say one more thing, right? Just the other day I watched the movie Shazam, the second movie, and it's like it's so amazing. I don't even think it's a coincidence, right? Because in the movie there's the group of superheroes, and the leader said, it's all or none. As soon as one of them stepped out, everything crashed, right? So it's amazing how timing happens, right? And when I watched that movie, and I was like, wow, so
trademark that, Pops. Trademark that.
Yeah, it's Mark.
Yeah. For me, I say that one of the things that I'd had to work on really, during our time together is really just is working on that understanding that there's like an unspoken agreement, between us brothers and then the family as well. Because, sometimes it's, especially when you're working in a team, it's so important to understand that everyone has their own role to do and their own part to do in the team. And so sometimes you forget personally that, this person is doing their thing, but sometimes you forget not to cross over into their lane, because then you stop them from doing what they're supposed to do, and then you forget to do what you're supposed to do, and then that's where everything starts to slow down. And then, so for me, I had to work on understanding that there's a role that I play in this team, and my job is to really focus on really getting better at my role, just bettering myself. And so that's one thing, like for any group of people, is just work on yourself, focus, keep focusing on what it is you have to do, and keep improving on that. And that's for me, I think I've gotten better at realizing that is what needs to be done. And there's a certain type of awareness. You have to always be aware in any situation. And sometimes I think even I struggled with that at times. But I think I've gotten better that when you're in a situation, now is the time to flip the switch, and your eyes is on the gold mine, or whatever. But it's like that. That's what I've been working on for me.
No, I like that. I like that you said the importance of knowing when how important the role is, and knowing when you should be in your role and working on yourself, right? I think it's very important to work on yourself, because that's how you're going to improve. Like, you working on yourself helps the group, right? Seth working on himself helps the group. Even though, like, he's working on himself, even individually, you guys are still going to come together. And if you're better, and Seth is better, and Zachary's better, the whole group becomes better, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a very important lesson. And I understand the knowing when, sometimes not going over into the other role and crossing those boundaries. I understand that can be difficult as well too. So I definitely feel you there. And you just so you brought up two things that I kind of wanted to touch on earlier in the conversation, before we even started interviewing. Your father was mentioning to me the 4 agreements. And then you were just saying the unspoken agreement, right? And that just triggered my mind to think about that. Can you guys tell me what those 4 agreements are? And do those 4 agreements play a role within the group?
So the first agreement is it's don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best and be impeccable with your word. Those after we read that book together. So after reading that book, I think it was really hard at first, because you kind of have to practice that. Those significantly help us even now to always realize the importance of being brothers, being a team. And one thing I wanted to touch on, that we were all having a discussion in the car last night about how important how valuable time and family and also how important time and family and the bond that we have as brothers is, because as people are losing the importance of having a goal bigger than yourself, then being a family, having that connection becomes more valuable. And so the 4 agreements plays a role into that, as being impeccable with your word, always doing your best, and almost like reaching outside of yourself. So like that's like reading, if you read the 4 agreements, and if you get that book, then it kind of circles around that, and how how it plays a role in your life, how those agreements play a role in your life.
No, yeah. I like that, because I was just trying to think about last interview compared to this interview with the 4 agreements. Like he says, don't take anything personal, and I'm thinking about sometimes when, and I'm going to jump into this too as well, is that I remember the last time Seth's role is to be blunt, right? And I'm sure there's times when he's blunt, and it probably
he's even more blunt.
Another year wise, another year more blunt. So I'm just thinking, I'm like, well, there's probably times when it'd be very easy to take it personal. Like, oh man, well, why is Seth telling me that, and take it personal. But from those 4 agreements, not taking it personal, knowing that whatever Seth is telling you he's telling you to improve the group, right? To improve, right? And then being impeccable with your work. If Mark is doing the job and he's half doing it, then you're gonna see him like, well, Mark's not doing the job to his full potential, right? And you are brothers, so you're gonna know each other better than anyone else is gonna know, right? So I think I can see the ways of the 4 agreements will come into play, but kind of touching on the roles. So you guys, so it's a year removed from that interview. So I wanted to know if the roles have changed or if the roles have stayed the same, and has there been, evolution in those roles? If I remember correctly, Zachary's role is as the lead vocalist, and whenever it comes to musical stuff, Zachary kind of takes the lead. Not because Mark and Seth can't do it, but just because Zachary has a skill and a gift for that, right? And so it's you can be able to do the same thing too, but Zachary might be able to do it in a little bit less time. And then I remember that Seth, you're the final decision maker. So whenever, I remember the guys saying that they were sometimes scared to be in the room with you because you could be so blunt, right? And now I'm hearing that you've gotten blunter since that time. So there's that. And then with Mark, I know that from what I remember, your role was to make sure you get your brothers in line. As the oldest, getting them prepared mentally, right? Prepared for the shows, prepared for practice, prepared just in general, right? Being the brother, being the leader, getting everyone prepared mentally. So are those roles still the same, and has there been, evolution in those roles?
I'd say that those roles are somewhat the same still. It's just that it's gone to a next level in where everyone has had to really up their game. And I think it comes back to awareness of, especially with Zach. Zach has become really aware of his purpose, really, and for the group itself, Zach has become that really. I'd say like mentally, Zach's always aware. He's the one who's kind of aware. He points out, and he's like the one who tells us, "Hey guys, you guys need to make sure because especially with the music, like, hey guys, make sure you guys are paying attention, right?" So, I'd say like everyone is the one who's kind of looking out for each other. So Zach's not afraid to really say, "Hey, Mark and Seth, you guys are not, you guys need to work together a bit more." Or Seth is the same thing. Seth speaks to me. Seth speaks to Zach. It's more our consciousness had to really just kind of come together as one.
And adding on what Mark is saying as well. we've almost, since this past year or so, since the years we've been working together, all the years we've been working together, everybody has a different personality, but at some point in time, there's a switch that happens, and everybody almost has to embody the same characteristics, because if you're willing to move forward, then you have to, at the same time, improve on yourself and almost share that, you know, that same concept in your mind, the same mindset. And so sometimes that is, you know, learning how to be more direct like Seth, or learning the work ethic of me, or learning the intelligence of Mark and how Mark processes things. So I guess that's something that we've almost learned, almost realized. It's almost like a realization, because one thing is that if you don't see that happen, then there's no way for you to know that it's possible. So, you know, that's something that I guess we've shared. We've improved since last year.
Yeah, especially because we're preparing for that moment, for the time when both of our parents say it's your guys' time to take the wheel. So it's even more critical at this point that, like Zach said, that we're able to consciously understand those roles, those strengths that each of us have, and actually take control of what is happening here, what the work that we do, because we can't avoid it that at one point our parents are going to step out and we're going to be young men in the world, and there will be a time where we have our own roads, our own paths to walk, but that doesn't mean that we're separated. It just means that we're going towards one direction, but we're walking our own paths down that direction. So it comes to a time where now it's really time to really engage in the fact that we have to step into ourselves, step into that role of individuality, but we're still working together as one.
I like that. I like that. No, I think that you guys both brought up very good points. I like the point that Zachary brought up, and I like the point that you brought up, Mark, in that Zachary was saying that you're taking traits from your brothers, right? You're adopting traits from your brothers. You're taking Mark's intelligence. You're taking Seth's directness, and sometimes you have to embody that trait. So sometimes maybe in a performance, you might have to be really direct with, you know, Mark or Seth, and like, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Right. And sometimes you might have to be really intelligent with how you're looking at the music, or how you're processing things, thinking about how would Mark think about this, how would Mark process this, you know, taking on those traits. So I think that's very good. And like you said, you're still stepping into your own, but working together individually, but working together as a collective still, right? So I really like that. And that's something that I always like. I mentioned it in the first interview, was the togetherness that you guys have. I think that's a very rare thing, right? Lots of groups, they start getting older, start getting to a point where they break away, right? But I really like that you guys have stuck together, and you have used all your talents and individual talents to still come together and make one great thing.
Yeah.
So
it's great that you pointed that word out, collective, because that is like, it's the same thing as a group, as a collective, as brothers. We are a collective in a sense, and that is, and a collective is full of like-minded people. So you kind of, you have to, as brothers, you have to embody one image, one vision, and share the same goals and all that kind of stuff. So that's like one thing that we're, you know, continuing to realize, because it's not something that you work on, it's something that you realize, and then you put it into action. Then you go on almost like autopilot.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say something as well. You know, you can kind of relate what we're doing to, like, you know, there's cooking, cleaning. For example, like a person who is you're supposed to be required. It's the you know, the minimum is that you know how to take care of yourself. So for example, an artist is supposed to know it's like almost on autopilot, right? So you're supposed to know that, you know, when you get up in the day, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you know. So that's kind of what our dad, you know, now this transitioning stage, I call it the transitioning stage, because, you know, this is the point in life where it's your decision to either do what you're supposed to, right? So you know, that's the biggest decision of our group, right? Now that we're getting older, our parents are not gonna take care of us forever.
Yeah.
We all know that. So it's the transitioning stage to make the choice to do what you're supposed to, and that is work as a group and as brothers. You know, it's a partnership, right? And you know, not to say that we're gonna live in the same house, and, you know, till we're married and stuff, but, you know, it's a partnership, and you know your role and you know what you're supposed to do. So are you gonna do it, right? That's the big choice. And you know, I feel that, you know, we're still learning too, right? Because, you know, I also didn't get to touch, but, you know, the bluntness or the directness, people would see it as bluntness, as something negative, but it really isn't, because when you're in a room, you're supposed to take initiative. You know, if you don't take initiative, nothing is gonna get done. So when you walk in a room, you're supposed to walk in the room and everyone is turning their necks to see, you know, who's this guy? You know, you walk in a room, your back is up straight, and, you know, it's kind of like that. So you know, I'm still learning, because my dad, he's with me. He said, you know, Seth, you got to use your words sometimes. You know, if you need something, if you want something, you have to use your words. Like, you know, this morning when we were cleaning, and Zach had the broom, but I didn't know he put away the broom. I assumed he still had the broom. Same thing with the 4 agreements. Don't make assumptions. So I would have never known he still had the broom if I didn't ask. So my dad is always telling me, Seth, use your words. Use your words. That's a part of taking initiative, being that person in the room, right? And
one thing Dad always tells us is always accept help.
Yeah.
Always ask questions. If you don't have those two, then you can never really get anywhere. You don't ever do anything by yourself. And you always have to be curious. You always have to ask questions.
I love that. I agree with both of the things that you guys are saying. Using your words, you know, sometimes you can be in a room and you won't be able to get the thing that you want unless you use your words, unless you say that you want it, unless you say that I'm interested in this thing, even in jobs and stuff. Like, you can be working at the same job for 30 years, but you always wanted to move up and become management, but they don't know that you want to become management. You never took the initiative, right? And then touching on what you said, Zachary, in that it's very important, like your dad, to be able to ask for help. Like, I can't interview and film. Right. Ori is very, very essential to making this work. Right. He's not in the video. He's behind the camera. But shout out to Ori. But he's very essential. Right. He's setting up the lighting. Like I was saying, like, we have to work. And big credit to you guys, actually, because it's from your episode that really made me think about the importance of roles. And that's why me and Ori established roles. It's not that Ori cannot interview. It's not that Ori will never interview. Ori's going to do interviews as well. But at this stage that we are in right now, Ori is a master of the camera and a master of the lighting and setting up the atmosphere and the settings. So Ori is playing to that strength, right? With his videography, with what he's doing, he's playing to that strength. He's building that skill set. Me, I'm trying to I like being around people. I like having conversations. I like getting to ask the deeper questions and getting into those type of things. So that, even for my brand, for what I'm doing, it's beneficial to me. So making that decision, it was a tough conversation to have, a very uncomfortable conversation. You know, Ori was mad. It wasn't very smooth. You know, I didn't really want to tell him. It was hard. But another thing is, like, I should be able to, and I'm sure that you guys do it with each other, being blunt and being able to tell you, even if it feels uncomfortable, being able to have that conversation. Or he can tell me stuff that's uncomfortable. He tells me stuff that's uncomfortable all the time. And sometimes I'm mad. Sometimes I don't really want to hear it from him. But I'm always listening, because I'm like, oh, here. Why is Ori telling me this? He wouldn't just tell me this just because. Right? Why is he telling me? Even though I don't like what he's saying, okay, I got to think about it. It's the same thing for me and Ori. If I might tell Ori something, he may not like it in the moment, but he's gonna think about it. I know he's gonna think about it, and he's gonna take in what I'm saying. So that is very important. One thing that I noticed that you guys each kind of said, you each talked about your father, and today is Father's Day. So I wanted you guys to talk about the importance of your father in making everything work. Not saying that mom is not important. Shout out to mom. But today is Father's Day, mom. So today is Father's Day, mom. So we're gonna have to, But so for Father's Day, how important is your father in this whole process? And is there anything you want to say to your pops right now?
Well, I can start it, but having our dad there is really, it's kind of the he's there to pass on the knowledge. I that's how I best put it. Pass on the knowledge because, he shows us, he's lived through experiences. He's done trials in his younger life, so he knows what it is. He knows what it is to be a young man and have dreams and do things, make mistakes, learn from them. So I guess now is the point that we are going to be growing up to be young men. So he's passing it on. He's not forcing it on us, but it's again, it comes to a choice in taking it in. So but yeah, I think that's the importance, is that you always have to learn from your parents, learn from your mother, learn from your father, because they always have, an experience in life that they're trying to prepare you so you don't run off and hit a wall, right? So it's almost like, but our dad has been, he's been a very important part in our journey, because, he shows us that, to get what you want, you have to work for it. And you have to, you have to really, if you say you want something, you have to, put the work in for it. Nothing comes to you in life. At any point, there's always something you have to give in order to get that. So I think that our dad is really, he's really instrumental in teaching us, that more principles. Even though he may not be able to show us directly what we need to do, he tells us, something that relates in the situation and what we need to do to get it. So he's really showing us that, to be hardworking men, we may not do music forever. We may transition into something else, but having the hardworking mindset coming from our mom and dad, especially from a place like St. Vincent, there's people. Yeah, exactly. Big up St. Vincent. There's people in St. Vincent. Education is so big, and just having the Vincentian roots in us. We're born to be hard workers. So. And we're taking that into our music. So, that's kind of how I feel about my dad and what he's been teaching us, all these years. So.
I love that.
First of all, I want to say, Happy Father's Day, Dad. I know I didn't get to say it this morning, but I was thinking about it all day. But, I would say one thing that I learned from my dad, from all these years, is knowing how to think, knowing how to strategize. It is, and ever since I'd say something for me personally, ever since I turned 16, it was always just something that is sparked in me. I was like, just something about time just became more valuable, I would say. Just learning that in any move you make in life, you have to be strategic and you have to tackle it a certain way. You can't use the same tactics that you used before. You always have to be chopping and changing, always have to be thinking of new ideas. I think that really helped in me strengthening the bond between my brothers. Just pulling everybody together. I think that's one thing I learned. Because, strategy is very, very important. And to be strategic, it takes for you to be bold. It takes a lot of gut, I would say. So just learning how to because you know you grow into a man, but being a man is just something completely different.
Yeah.
You kind of have to embody everybody around you. So that's kind of like what I learned from my dad all these years. Yeah. Shout out to my mom. She taught me how to, you know, how to take emotions.
Yeah.
You know, that, I would say that part.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to mom and
Don't forget you. Didn't forget you.
And you know, that's just like one thing that I would share.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to get off my chest because that's like one of the most important things.
No, I really like that. I think your dad will like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say Happy Father's Day, and yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful for like my dad, and really very thankful that he's been there. Both of our parents, but our dad's been there every step of the way, and just kind of, you know, watching over us and, you know, guiding us and just kind of showing us how, most importantly, showing us how to think and how to learn. Because if you can't think critically and you can't learn from people, then you can't grow. And you can't grow and you can't change. And I think that's what I'm most thankful for, showing us how to really think in this world, because so many things are changing every day. And if you can't accept these changes and you can't learn to use your mind, then you're gonna be stuck. Just in this world, just working for everybody else. And I know like this journey isn't an easy journey. Like our dad isn't easy all the time. Like he's really hard. But, man, like I'm thankful for that, because if like a father in a family is meant to push their children to be the best that they can be. And I think that even though our dad was hard, he was one of he's one of the main reasons why we're able to reach so far and do so many things, because he was the pusher. He was the pusher in our family, and he wasn't just he pushed everybody. Like, even though you're uncomfortable, like he's like, I know you guys can do it. But you guys gotta push. You guys can do it, but you guys gotta push really hard. That's the only way. And even though I didn't want to do certain things, sometimes he was still there to push me, and that's one of the things that I'll never forget, because you can't just do it by yourself. If you're trying to do anything, if you're trying to become somebody in this world, you can't do it without someone having to push you. You don't just get up and just say, I'm going to work hard. Somebody's always there motivating you and saying that you guys can do it, and I'm going to be there with you guys. I'm going to be pushing you guys every step of the way. And now it's come to the time where we're taking this next step, where it's the milestone, and we're young men now. And now it's time for us to really embody everything that we've learned from both of our parents, because they're not always going to be there. So now it's time for us to really take that next step as men.
No, I love everything that each one of you said, because shout out to my dad. Pops, happy Father's Day. I appreciate you for all that you've done in my life as well. Something that you guys said is very, so that's why I have so much respect for your pops, is that a lot of kids right now in the world, they don't have both parents. Sometimes they have their father, sometimes they have their mom, sometimes they don't have any, right? And the fact that your family, both your parents, your mom and your father, are there to support you towards your dream, your goal, and your passion, that's huge. Like, it's a huge thing, because there's so many kids out there that wish that their parents were coming to their games, wish that their parents would go to their performances, all those things. So like, I think it's a really big thing, and I want to commend your dad for that. And not only that, but teaching you guys how to be men in a world is crazy. The world is crazy, and teaching you proper values. Every performance I go to, how people interact with you. People are always like, oh, those kids. It's never any negative review. It's always, you guys are always smiling. They're so respectful. Like all those things are things that you're from how you grew up, right? You could have been very different, right? So a lot of big respect to your pops for what he's doing and for what he's done, and not only for what he's done, but for you guys for listening and taking that, because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm not gonna listen. I'm gonna do my own thing. But also I commend you guys for listening and taking in the information, even though you probably don't want to hear it all the time. Unless, like you said, he can be very hard, and my dad's the same way. He can be very hard on you. But what I realized as I got older is that hardness comes from a place of love. And there's people in the world that take it easy on you. They don't really love you. Like they don't really love you because, even Ori's hard on me. I'm hard on Ori. Like it's the people that care about you are hard on you for a reason, because they see so much potential in you, because they see that you can accomplish these things. And if someone is always taking it easy on you and saying, oh no, it's okay, you can do it tomorrow, you can do it whenever, you probably won't do it. And so having that extra push, having someone pushing you, backing you in your corner is huge. So big respect to Mark Sr. for being able to push the Melisizwe brothers. And not only that, but for moms as well, big respect for you as well. So now just kind of like we're talking about transitioning a lot here. So now transitioning kind of into the kind of education, portion of it, because we really want to make sure that we're educating our audience, our listeners, on things that they can do to improve if they're trying to follow in your footsteps or just in the music industry. So as we step into that, we're going to take 1 second and then we'll step into that.
Okay.
So just take a little quick break, but we're just diving into the education segment now. Kind of the show is that we want to really make sure that we're giving as much tangible, actionable tips and advice for people that are maybe trying to follow in the same footsteps of the music industry, just in life, learning from the brothers, from their experience, right? They're experts from their experience, so they have been able to do a lot of really cool things within the music industry. They've performed and they've met a lot of really cool people, got to have a lot of great insight. We'll also get maybe a little bit of advice from a parent's perspective as well, in this as well. So we'll make sure that we dive into this. So I guess my first kind of question is, for somebody else that is an upcoming artist, that is a musician, that is a group, that is trying to, kind of follow in your footsteps in the path that you guys have made for yourself, maybe what advice could you give to them? What steps could they take to kind of, everyone has a different path, has their own path, but they can take steps and advice from you guys they can implement to their own group, their own music career, and use it to excel. What are some of the steps and tips that they can take from you guys as upcoming artists?
I would say one of the first things is, of course, starting young, is to always, listen to your parents. They got the best interest in you. And also to know that, of course, you have to practice every day, you have to work every day on your gift. And, if music is the thing, then you have to do it 100%. You can't do it 50-50. There's, of course, there's school and all of these things that you have to get done, but if music is your main thing, then it's going to be your main thing. And this is for the parents as well, is that, if you're willing to invest in your child, then you have to take the wheel. You cannot let anybody else manage your children for you.
Why not?
Well, I can continue
you can
there.
Continue that, yeah.
Unless, we wouldn't say, why we say the parents is usually the person who should be doing all of the, the driving for the child, is because, your parents are, at least, they're the last person who would, they're not likely to turn their back on you or use you for something, because unless you turn to someone else, unless that person is willing to sacrifice literally everything, just to, work with that child, because, working with, children is not easy. One, it's, it's very expensive, and, having to deal with, other outside influences, trying to break them as well. It's not easy at all. So, that's why we say the parents is usually supposed to be the person who's working with, we're not necessarily working with the child, but we're working with the parents, because sometimes the parents may not know, everything. They're not very exposed to, the world, right? So we work with the parents, and the parents with the child, right? So it's usually that pair comes in, because, it's we don't really want to babysit the child, right? It's more of trying to teach the parents what to do. And we're not saying, you do this, do that, because things are changing all the time. So, right, we're just trying to mentally prepare you for the dangers, and also what the child should be doing. Like Zach said, they're always working whenever they get the chance, right? Is but also remember your education as well. You don't want to just drop that out of the image. You have to make sure that your grades are good, and you also you take care of your education, and always nurture your gift. Those are the two most important things you always have to worry about. And also being humble as well. Never forget where you came from. Never forget your parents as well. And those are the three things. It's time. You're always working on school, and your gift, and always learning new things, right?
That goes for children. Like if you're children in the arts, right, and you have your parents, but then for the developing artist who's just who wants to start in like a group or anything like that, it's like first you have to find a team of people who will support you, and that team can be your friends, your family. If your parents are in it too, they'll support you as well. It's the people who will support you through anything, who will always support you. That's your team. So, and the thing is, because as an artist, like you can't do everything yourself, because when you're an artist, your job is to just focus. Usually, your job is to make sure to improve yourself as an artist. So that's working on your craft. And then while you have your team, then that's where your team can work on those other things for you that is in that industry, which is like social media. Then you have connecting with people, and then music, recording. You have to have that team that will help you to handle those other things as an artist. And then the other thing that's really vital is to have someone, a personal manager is someone who will, like Zach said, is someone who will always have your best interest in mind, and they're not gonna sell you out. They're not gonna make sure you take deals that don't have any benefit to you. They're always gonna make sure that you always have the upper hand in anything that you do. You always have control in anything that you do. So it's really, and this starts out with, like I said before, the team starts out with people who are close to you, who are your friends and your family, and who will support you. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
No, I like that. You guys all touched on very, very key points. Seth said that education is very important. At the same time as and I can speak to that because when I was playing football, I was very talented in football, and I was excelling. But when the scholarships came, because I was so focused, initially I was so focused on basketball and football, I was so focused that I was like, you know what, I don't care about school. I'm just going to put all my attention into this. And I neglected my schoolwork. And then my grades weren't good. And then when I got the opportunities came because of my talent in sports, but I couldn't really fully take full control and maximize those opportunities because I didn't have the academics to go with it, right? And so if I had paid attention to my parents when they were telling me, make sure you have your school. Your schooling is important. I could have had my schooling, and I could have had the athletics, and I could have gotten into certain places that I wouldn't been able to get to because I had the academics, right? And so academics is very, very important. I know with it in this time that we live in, maybe not. There's other avenues like how you guys are doing. Music. There's other avenues, but education is still important.
Yeah.
Also, working on your gift, the time. I think the time is very important, and I actually want to touch on and see. So for somebody that's in school, somebody like your age, like those kids that are on the tour that you guys went on. For those kids that are in school and they also have their gift, maybe it be music, maybe it be podcasting, maybe it be photography, videography. If that is their gift, how do they balance that? How do they balance the school and the gift, and which one do they give more time to? How do you guys kind of operate with that? And maybe something that you guys do, maybe to give some advice and some hope to somebody else.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up too, right? Sometimes, we speak while we're homeschooled too, right? So sometimes we may forget that there are kids who are in school. But, for those, it's really just finding out, that, everyone, sooner or later, there are going to be, a large group of people who figure out about the homeschooling, right? And, we encourage, the parents to put their kids in homeschooling because there they would have, you would have time to make a schedule, right? It's always about how you use your time. How you organize your time is really what can make a great difference, because we don't have all the time in the world, right? So we only have 24 hours in a day. How you put that time is usually the makes the difference. It's a slight difference. So we kind of, we still also, we still encourage the kids that are in school to still find time in their day to make time. That's sacrificing, TV, sacrificing the video games, sacrificing different things that are, not really, they don't add value to your, there's no interest in that to your gift, right? So usually you sacrifice those things to, make time. So that's when you get home from school, that's putting in, instead of, watching TV for an hour is a lot of time in a day, So instead of, you take that and you put it into studying about your gift or doing something that's contributing to the end goal, right? And, that's kind of what we tell, a lot of students, the Gold Mine Tour, we told a lot of students that it's, putting in time, changing out, switching out, swapping out some things that you do every day, regularly for that time to put into your gift. So that's kind of what we tell them.
No, that's something that you said there, sacrifice. That word sacrifice, if you want to accomplish anything great in life, you must sacrifice. Like, I think that's essential. Ori knows that very well. I know that very well. If sometimes I have to sacrifice hanging out with friends. Sometimes I have to sacrifice, doing other, maybe watching TV or watching my favorite show or binge watching a show, because I know that if I start this show, then I'm gonna want to watch everything. And then I'm gonna lose that time when I could be working on the show, improving myself, improving in videography, improving in weddings. Like, if I sacrifice is so key. I met this millionaire, and that's the word he said to me. He said the very first word he said to me was sacrifice. He's like, what do you do with your time? He's like, do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you talk to other people? Do you party? All those things. He gave me a whole list of things. And he said, if you're doing all these things, you're wasting your time. Like, that takes time, that takes money. If you want to do these things, you have to sacrifice. Yeah, for the first couple of years, you might not, you might miss out on some, some friends and some parties and some different things. But in the long run, in the short term, it might be hard. But in the long run, all those people that you might have, those times you would have missed out, you can then attend as many as you want after. You can do as much as you want. It's that sacrifice initially. If you don't sacrifice in the beginning, you won't be able to sacrifice later either. You won't be able to enjoy later, It's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. Right? And that's a very important thing. And something that Mark touched on, I think I'm going to get Pops to kind of touch on that, is when it comes to, putting the right people, building the right team around your children, or letting people get close to them, how do you vet people? How do you actually vet people? When they get close to your kids, or how do you vet people knowing that they're going to actually have your children's best interests at heart?
Wow. That's a tough question, and then it's not a tough question. To be honest with you, like one thing that we believe that there's a lot of good people around. So I think mindset has to do a lot with that too. So our first thought, and I've taught the boys too, is that people are good. Right? And it's a common thing, people say people are bad, but we actually always try to see the good in people. So that's kind of our starting point, and we find that we get a lot of things that we put out that we get. And I tell people that we've met more good people than we've met bad people. And, because somebody could be good to one person to be bad to another person. So we usually start on that, and we find that what we give out is what we get, right? And we hold people to that as well too. So as a result, we've been able to meet a lot of people that have been very consistent and do what they say they're going to do, because that's what we expected. And there's disappointment sometimes, but we always try to make sure that disappointment doesn't come from our end. It comes from their end, and then we kind of move forward from that. And then, as the boys said, we really don't take anything personal. So if somebody doesn't live up to what they're going to say, and then they end up and leave, that's just kind of the way it is. But I think it's really finding the good people really depends on you and us. Making sure that whatever we say we're going to do, and we expect the person to do the same thing. So we're really holding them to a standard wherein they become good, even if somebody else thinks that they are bad. So we have a lot of friends who people don't have anything to do with that person, but for us, that person comes through every single time.
I love that point so much, because that is something that people very, very, very often tell me. They always tell me, like, you're too nice, you're too nice to these people. And they say that the one thing that I learned is one of my principles. I never ever take what someone else tells me about somebody else. So if someone tells me, like, hey, Ori's not that good of a person to me, don't work with him. I never take that, because I don't know if there's a reason why he is that way with you, but he might not be that way with me, right? So I'm never gonna take someone else's word for just how someone is and not check for myself. Let me come to my own conclusion for myself. And a lot of times, like you said, it's what you give out. If I'm giving out positive energy and I'm giving out, positiveness, a lot of the times, almost like 99% of the time, that's what I get in return. Because I'm not looking at something negatively, I don't get that negative thing back. So I really, really love that point, and how you're approaching the people that are getting close to the kids and to the boys. So I really, really like that point. Another thing I'm just going to maybe ask you here while I have you is for parents, what advice can you give to parents that have kids, young talented kids like your kids, that are trying to pursue their goals and their dreams? What advice can you give to them on how to kind of really support their kids to really pursue their dreams?
Yeah, I think what started for us is that the boys started very young. And as parents, sometimes you can feel overwhelmed. I think what helped us is that we were able to grow with the boys, right? Sometimes as a parent, you would feel that, my kid is talented, but I can't do it. I can't run around with them. I can't coach them. I can only tell you what worked for us. We learned as we learned together, right? Because it's scary as a parent, and it's scary as for children as well. So we have the firm belief that if you don't know it, you have to learn. You're not going to learn it overnight. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, which you're supposed to learn. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you stick with the child, you're going to learn, and so you're not going to miss a beat in their lives. A lot of parents try to maybe pass it over to say, I would like you to help my kid. But we said, no, we like to help you so that you can help your child, so that you don't miss out on any of the happenings in the children, because you've got a lot of stars and they always say that they miss out on their childhood You know, the parents, we always said we never wanted that for the boys. Whatever we did, whether wrong or right, that we were always there. So we knew everything that happened to them. So whatever mistakes, we're gonna make it together. Whatever successes, we're gonna share it together. But at the end of the day, we're not gonna miss a beat or feel any regret to say, well, I might let somebody else manage my kids, and this is the results, whether good or bad. We're gonna share that together. And so that's why we believe that the kids should really start at a younger age, so that you have time to learn. You know, versus starting at older, so you have time to learn and to grow. And we don't know everything, and you're not going to know everything, but you're going to have a very good sense of what needs to be done. And because we did that, now we're in a position where we could actually help other parents. See, so we learned so that we could help others as well.
No, I love that. I love that, because I think that is essential, right? I think you're not always gonna know, even as parents, like sometimes the situations that your parents are being put into are new situations for them. They've never been put in those situations, right? And so they're learning just as much as you were learning in that time. And that's something that I realized when I got older. It was like, when my dad had me, he had never had a son at that time. So the stuff that he's learning he's still learning it at that time, right? It's still new for him. It's the same thing for your father, but him being there is so important, right? Him being there and that being able to see you when you stumble, or even when he stumbles, you guys being there to each other up is very, very essential and very, very key. I guess just a few more questions, because we're kind of winding down here now. I didn't get to touch on, I know you guys have released a lot of new music within that time. You have Time is one of the songs. You released about six songs, right? Zachary?
Yes.
About 6, right? And I just kind of wanted you guys to maybe tell me about what's the thought process that goes into making a new song, and maybe from the ones that you guys have released, which one kind of, I guess maybe each one of you might be different, but which one is kind of your favorite and just kind of why? But yeah, kind of give me what goes into that process, and can you maybe give me some steps for, maybe not for me, but for someone that was trying, if I was a musician, a composer, kind of steps that I can kind of, a guideline that I can kind of follow. I don't know if that kind of makes sense to you guys. So
I think the most important song for me, my most favorite is Don't Let Go. My second is Reasons. But Don't Let Go, the reason why that one is my favorite is because it speaks about not letting go. And it's almost like a motivation, to a lot of our peers, a lot of the people that we meet. And it's a song that we'll be playing this song at the concert as well. And that's my favorite. The second why I say Reasons is because I also talked about time, that you want to do, you got to do what you got to do. That's what the song is. Do what you got to do. I ain't got time. And it also says I don't need to fall in love. I will have it all that I want, no matter the cost. I will do what I want. I can do. You got to do what you want. And those are I think very powerful meanings in that. So how we came up with those songs is we wrote them during the pandemic.
Okay.
And it was since we were in a writing session in LA, and we learned so much from that we brought it back home, and we just started writing a bunch of songs. I don't know how many we probably wrote, close to probably 60, because we have almost 50 now. And that song is it was just a thought that we wrote because we just won America's Most Musical Family, and we just said, do what you gotta do, right? Don't let go. That's the motivation for those songs. And then 3 years later, now we're revising the songs that we had written in the past, and we're like, these are the songs that we need to release. And we felt that it was ready. It was the time to, because COVID is just winding down. We were just going on a school tour as well, so we were just like, let's just release these songs. So yeah, and then we usually send our songs off to LA, to get them mixed and mastered, and yeah, so that's kind of how we came up with these concepts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that. And so, in the writing process, can you give us maybe one guideline that you use in your writing process to make a song?
One guideline is we always pick the theme.
Okay.
We always want to know what we're writing about, and it's always usually based on the experiences that we've had along the way. And so that goes in correspondence with the music, what we're feeling at the time, what the atmosphere is. And one thing is that we never like to use negative connotations in our song as well. So that's like one of the guidelines that we follow. It's always something positive, something that has to do with, motivation. It's all a part of, the name and who we are, the Melisizwe brothers. So we always want to make sure that our integrity is there, So that's kind of like what we focus on when we're writing a song.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that's very key. I think you need a theme in everything that you do. So kind of we're winding down here now. So last kind of two questions I have for you is, what is something that you have learned through this from since the time of the last interview to now that has propelled you in your music? It can be one thing, it can be two things, but what is one thing that you guys have learned that has propelled you since that time the last interview that has propelled you in your music?
So you can go first.
Well, for me, I think since the last time, which would have been like early 2022, right? In music specifically, I think that we've got to work with a lot of other artists in the past since 2022 and into 2023, right? And just seeing that, kind of learning from each other, I guess, and helping people is kind of what propels us in our music, and it gets us to other places. And I think in music specifically, getting to work with young artists as well kind of opens up my eyes to really what we can do in our music, the power of our music, right? The power of music in general, I think, and just kind of showing other people what, because the people that we've met are very passionate about music, and so that kind of sparks our passion even more to see that, there's younger people in it, there's the parents in it, and so that's kind of, what we've learned is that we can, with our music, we can, create paths and really help other people too, right? So, yeah, that's since the last time, yeah.
I love that. That's a very great lesson to learn. Music is very powerful. It's like a universal language, right? Everyone, whether they can speak your language or they can't speak your language, they can listen to the music, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think one of the things that I also learned is that it's a business. It's something that you have to take seriously. So you realize that yes, you can help a lot of people, but you have to know how to catapult off of what you've done in the past to elevate yourself now. And like what Seth said, it's through helping people, staying in the community, and always keeping in touch with the people that so that's like one thing that I learned.
No, I think that goes well with what you were saying that you learned from your father, thinking strategically, right? Thinking, yes, you're performing, and yes, you guys are working on your craft and you're performing your craft so people can see, but you also have to be strategic, because you won't be able to continue excelling if you don't take it as a business as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very, very important part, and that's something that for whatever craft you're in, you should remember that it is a business. And that's something that I remember Ori was very big on that point too. Is like learning that not only your craft can get you so far, but you also have to understand the business of your craft, because that's how you're going to be able to make real headway, right?
Yeah.
So that's something very big too. Mark, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say that as a musician, I think I've improved like because I'm the lead guitarist, right? So definitely it's like as a musician you always want to improve, and the thing is about music is that when you're around people who know more than you, then you have to really pay attention to what they're doing and try to figure it out. And then if you have somebody who already knows what they're doing and can actually tell you what they're doing, and then you have to be able to really listen and to that person and really quickly just take what they know. Because if someone's sharing with you the secret, then take that knowledge and just immediately apply it to yourself. Don't. And as a musician, I've had to really accept the fact that, especially because Zach has perfect and relative pitch, and Zach plays 15 different instruments. So Zach will immediately know by hearing it. He doesn't even have to look at the guitar. He can just know exactly what's going on. So if Zach will tell me, then I'll take it immediately. And so that's why I'd like to say that I've definitely improved, because I've had my brothers just help me improve as a musician. So yeah.
And I think that goes well to the point that your dad also mentioned, is that being willing to ask for help, being willing to take help, right? Like you can very much look. Zach can say something, you can be like, it's just Zach, I'm not gonna listen to him, right? So you can easily say that, but being able to actually take in what he's saying and then apply it. Application is a huge thing. A lot of people know a lot of stuff and they don't apply what they know. So application is very huge. So not only taking in the information, but then applying it. So that's a very great point. Man, these brothers, man, so many great points, so many gems, so much you can learn from them. Really great interview. Every time I come and I see them, I'm always happy, because obviously Vinci in the house. But you know, not only that too, but just, you know, it doesn't matter how young they are. There's so much like every time I sit with them, I always take away stuff, right, from them and just from their experiences. So really happy that I got to sit down with them today. And just the last thing is there any message you guys want to give to the fans, to the listeners, to any family, anybody that's out there listening? Just one message you want to leave them with. And I know one message I want to leave them with is, make sure you're there on Friday, June 23rd at Winspear Center at 7:30. That's my message.
Yes.
Get your tickets. You get them at winspear.com. You get them on the Melisizwe. The link is on the Melisizwe link as well. So that's my message to you guys. But these guys might also have another message for you.
My message is to subscribe to the Grind
Theory
Talk Show, everybody, on YouTube. That's my message. You know, we're supporting everybody here in the city, and that's what we gotta do. That's what gets us further ahead. So, you know, follow them all on Instagram. They're on Instagram. They're on YouTube, and listen to their podcast.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. You heard him first. You heard him say that first.
Yeah.
And Ori, what's the socials, Ori? Dappy Films? What is it?
Yeah, Dappy Films.
Dappy Films. All right. Make sure you guys follow Dappy Films too. The man behind the camera, you can't see him, but he's orchestrated.
Yeah, and for everyone who's watching, all the youths, the parents, everyone, you know, make sure to keep working at whatever you're doing. You keep working, you'll get where you want to go. So that's my message to everyone. Keep working.
Yeah, and also, I just want to join in on that too. Yeah, keep working on it. Keep everyone who's watching, keep working on your gift, your talents. Keep grinding. And the thing is, it never stops. So don't be afraid. Well, let me say that again. I kind of competed, but
No, don't be afraid.
I also
It's a
wanted to-
process. No,
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And just adding to what Mark was saying, I don't care what you do or who you are, you can always get 1% better. So make sure you get 1% better today.
Yeah.
That's my message for y'all. We are out. We will see you guys again with another episode of the Grind Theory Talk Show very soon. Stay tuned.
See you later.
And make sure you're there, June 23rd. Make sure you're there. 7:30. Don't be late.